Adoption in scripture. When I mean scripture, I mean under the New Testament. The adoption that was spoken of by Paul in Romans chapter 8 is not the same with the adoption we have in our secular world. So, in Romans chapter 8, verse 15, Paul said, "We have not received the spirit of bondage again to fear, but the spirit of adoption, whereby we cry, Abba, Father." Now, some people may be asking, how is it that we're adopted? How is it that God adopted us? Now, the adoption there in Romans 8:15 is not the same adoption you have in our secular world. They don't have exactly the same meaning. Now, here's the slight difference. Although there's a similarity, here's the slight difference. The slight difference is that the adoption you have in our secular world, you have to adopt a total stranger, that you have no relationship with. You have no existing relationship with that stranger. You adopt that stranger to be your child. Then before you can now grant placement of that child to be either your son or to be your daughter. Remember, no existing relationship between you and that person. The person is a total stranger. Then for the adoption that was spoken of in Romans chapter 8, verse 15, the Greek word that was translated there is a word I find difficult to pronounce. But then what it means, you can go and check it with your Greek lexicon. It means placement of sonship. It means placement of Christian sonship. Now, if you look at the story of the prodigal son, the story of the prodigal son is a typology of a relationship between Christ and the church. Christ and the church. How that when the church was in Adam, that's when man was in Adam, we fell. And then Christ came to reconcile us back to himself. Now, when the prodigal son went back to his father, you will notice that his father was not adopting him as a stranger. He was not coming back to his father as a stranger that is being adopted. Rather, he was coming for a reconciliation. So what adoption in Romans 8:15 means is when the father now gave him a ring. It was when the father gave him a ring, a new ring, a new status. So that's what adoption in Romans chapter 8 verse 15 means. A new status of sonship in the kingdom. It doesn't necessarily mean that he's reconciled. It doesn't necessarily mean that he's adopting us as total strangers. No. There was an existing relationship between Adam and God. Adam fell. Jesus now came to reconcile us because we are in Adam. Jesus came to reconcile us back to God.